Thanks, speaker, for speech. To extend the case for government, invite the Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I have one rebuttal to make against the side of opposition. So you talk about the infringement on sovereignty. The countries are not infringing on the sovereignty of the country. But as mentioned by my first speaker, that they are not infringing on sovereignty, but they are keeping the good to develop greater good, like the monetary policy that my first speaker has already mentioned. Yeah, so with that, I shall move on to my speech. Mr. Speaker, I have two things to extend on the side government case. Firstly, I want to characterize further the political situation in Europe and why the euro is harming that harmony. And secondly, I will tell you why it's best if these countries go for a breakup to improve their relations and why these relations are important. Firstly, we need to understand the kind of strain that Europe is facing. When the Euro bailout fund was activated in 2010 and more recently last week, it caused a major stir among voters within the Eurozone, especially from German voters. Majority of them feel angry that responsibly behaved countries such as Germany and France have to bail out poorer and irresponsible countries such as the 5 PIGS nations, for example, Portugal, Ireland, and Greece. Both of them disagreed that their tax had to be channeled in to help this country, which was why it took the Eurozone so long to pass the initial bailout package to Greece last year. It's not just one way though. The poorer countries, such as Greece, were extremely unhappy about the harsh measures that were being imposed to them through the austerity packages. They felt that their rights were being massively infringed by these more powerful countries with a long list of requirements that Prime Minister Papandreou, such as freezing wage increases on civil servants and slashing pension budgets for the elderly. The citizens in Greece and Ireland, and most recently in Portugal, felt that it wasn't just their fault for the situation that they are in, as they saw that these bigger Euro countries were passively encouraging them in their reckless and unchecked behavior. But the point I'm saying this is because of the Eurozone and its inherent problems that my first speaker spoke to you about, there will always be this major friction between each and every of these countries. Sure, things were much rosier prior to 2010, but that was because they never faced a real crisis since the inception of the Eurozone. However, the debt crisis exposed a major problem with the system, but more importantly, left a sour taste in every single one of these countries. So why is having a sour tongue so bad? Because of the fact that not only is Europe highly integrated in terms of economics, but more importantly, in political terms, and the problems faced from the debt crisis spill over to the other decision-making processes. And this has impeded on other areas of progress within countries of the Eurozone and even within the European Union. For example, prior to 2010, countries were pretty much in unison in allowing France to extend its agricultural subsidies for its farmers as a common understanding that the agricultural industry was one of France's most important areas in terms of export-related jobs. Since the crisis though, there's been a lot more politicking and tit-for-tat with each issue, and with many other issues such as Germany's Euro funding for its renewable energy industry, Ireland's low corporate tax rate, and even on the recent issues of refugees, where the richer northern European countries who have the opinion that they have helped enough are reluctant to help the southern European countries who also happen to be part of the PIGS deal with the influx of refugees from Africa and Middle East. Yes?
So would you stop sending aid to African countries in need?
We didn't say that we will stop sending aid to Africans. We just say that abolishing the Eurozone will be better for the country, which will be mentioned in my point later on. But okay, continue on. But why are governments behaving in this manner? It's because voters themselves are pushing their government to not overextend their help and be strict with the R&D spending countries. On the other hand, you have the countries who are on the brink of bankruptcy to show that they are still in control and not appear weak to their voters has to appease voter anger from the sacrifices that they have to take from austerity packages imposed upon them. So you result in a brinkmanship game, which is something extremely unhealthy for the whole of Europe's economic and political progression. This will bring to my second argument. When you have no Eurozone, countries help one another based on mutual benefit and or voluntary assistance. When you settle one major sticking point of contention, you reduce the animosity on other areas too. It becomes back to the days where countries were fiscally and monetarily independent and then work on bilateral and multilateral levels to improve their economies. You remove a sore point between many of these countries and you allow the government to push agendas which are trickier and require more political clout. As it is now, Chancellor Merkel has very little clout because he spent most of the bulk of it on justifying to every German the 100 billion euro bailout that Germany itself forked out for the Southerners. This has forced her to take a tougher tone on other issues, as immigration and the refugees down south, which eventually means you are creating a much tougher and uncooperative Europe, something antithesis to the idea of the Eurozone itself. Mr. Speaker, the Eurozone has clearly failed. On levels of economics and on the level of political implications and unity, we think that it's time to abolish the Eurozone. Let's be sensible and do the right thing now. Yeah, thanks.
Is this a case for the negative? I mean, by the leader of opposition.
Ladies and gentlemen, today, side proposition is all about sovereignty. Sovereignty. Now, we as side opposition are all about regionalism. We see Europe as an entire region that's interdependent on each other and must be saved as a whole or not at all. Now, I have 4 points of contention with side proposition's case. First of all, on political jeopardy that arises out of the Eurozone. Secondly, on the obligation of developed countries to bail out less developed European countries. Fourthly, on the fact that solidarity does not breed regional growth. And on the last point of sovereignty. Now, on to my first point of rebuttal. Side proposition has come up to us and said that by bailing out countries that do not deserve aid from more developed countries, we are creating political jeopardy in more developed countries. Now, we say that this is not true because the funds that are being channeled into these less developed countries also benefit the developed countries. This is because of the interdependency of the European countries on each other. Because they are so interlinked with each other, because it's an entire region that share resources and trade with each other, they benefit as well from sending aid to these people. Therefore, that point does not stand. Now, even if the developed countries do not benefit fiscally from sending aid to these less developed countries, we say there's still a moral obligation for developed countries to aid out less developed countries. This is parallel to sending foreign aid to Africa. I highly doubt that the US has any monetary gain from sending foreign aid to Africa for AIDS research or healthcare benefits. However, it's still a moral obligation because you cannot leave people to die in these less developed countries. Now, moving on to my second point. Moving on to my second point of rebuttal on the sovereignty. Even if it's true that the European Central Bank violates sovereignty, we feel that countries give up their sovereignty for the greater good. So the greater good comes when the entire region prospers as a whole. Instead of just looking at individual countries and how they perform economically, we need to look at the entire outlook of the market. As Europe is one gigantic region, as pointed out by my first speaker, Satish, we cannot just be selfish and say that Germany, France, Italy are the only ones that matter. Countries like Spain, Portugal, and Greece matter too. They account for a lot of resources. I'll take it with a minute, madam. They account for a lot of resources and supplies that are given. Yes, madam.
Italy is actually doing bad now economically.
Yes. Even though Italy might be doing bad economically, it's still considered one of the powerhouses of the European economy. Even though it has seasonal benefits. Now, on the point of solidarity.
Sir.
No, thank you, madam. Side proposition has come up and told us that the nuance stance is not possible. That because there's a central bank that sets out the policies, there is no one-size-fits-all policies. Now, even if it's true that a nuance stance is not possible, we find that solidarity breeds better grounds for regional growth. By combining a coordinated response to economic crises such as recessions and or natural disasters, the entire European region is able to benefit as a whole because measures are taken out across the board. No, thank you, madam. Now, moving on to my point on the stability of euro currencies and the economic discipline. No, thank you, sir. Economic discipline that the eurozone creates. Now, on my point on the stability of the euro currency, our thesis is that the wide circulation of the euro currency creates stability within the region. This is because all the eurozone members use the euro. As a result, the European, all of the economies of eurozone countries are cemented together because of this common currency. Therefore, the euro is pegged to all the economies of all the eurozone countries. This makes the euro less susceptible to fluctuation, and even when individual economies falter, the euro is still buoyed up by the individual economies of all the other eurozone nations. Therefore, it's less susceptible to market fluctuations, and the euro does not devalue quite as quickly. In addition, the European Central Bank is also able to create coordinated responses against economic crisis, as brought up in my rebuttal. This implements policies and measures across the entire board, which staunches the devaluation of the euro. A stable euro currency encourages foreign investment. Take you a minute, madam. As changing currency from foreign investors is less risky. When investing in regions, you have to convert your currency to the regional currency so you can pay your suppliers, you can create jobs and pay your workers. With the stable euro, investors are more willing to convert the cash into euros for foreign investment. This increased investment leads to economic gain for eurozone countries as this leads to fresh funds and the creation of more jobs within the eurozone countries. For example, in the light of the 2008 to 2009 recession, the European Central Bank lowered interest rates across the board to 2% to boost foreign investment in the region. Thus, the eurozone should not be abolished as a stable currency facilitates the economic growth of all eurozone countries. On to my second point, on eurozone countries being able to have a peer review mechanism that that encourages economic discipline. This is because the eurozone provides infrastructure for economic discipline to be cultivated. Yes, sir.
You have said that the euro does not devalue quickly, but in the 2010 crisis, it has shown that all those eurozone countries, they are affected badly.
So during crisis and during recession, obviously your dollar is going to drop. All currencies will do that. However, the euro does not drop as drastically as say the sterling pound or the US dollar. Now on to my case substantive. The interdependency of of all eurozone nations is cemented by a common euro policy. Now economic policies no longer simply influence individual countries, but the entire eurozone as a whole. What this does is that now countries have the motivation and the infrastructure to advise and assist member countries on economic policies. Thus, a regulatory and cooperative system is in place to help more experienced countries to help out lesser experienced countries with their economic policies, which leads to greater prosperity of the region as a whole. An example is that of Greece. In 2010, in the sovereign debt fund that the side proposition has came up with, Greece was given a 110 billion euro loan and access to financial advisors from all other eurozone states. This helped Greece make sweeping changes to the bureaucracy and also facilitated Greece's economic recovery. Therefore, our side has shown you how regional growth and the prosperity of all nations within the euro far outweighs any benefit individual sovereignty might have. Thank you.